What's up guys, my name is Andy. Will this thing run? That is a great question, and I don't know the answer to that. I bought a truck that I did not start before I bought it. That's not a good way to do that. The guy that I bought it from, said he had it for a couple years, and he did have it running, but he didn't drive it much. It needed some work, and so he's basically selling it to me for, you know, kind of more of a project. And I have not had a chance to turn over the engine. In fact, I haven't even sit in the driver's seat. When I was moving this truck off the trailer stuff, I had a buddy helping me out, and he was steering the truck. So I haven't even been in the driver's seat yet. There's a lot of this truck that I don't know. I don't know if there's even oil in the engine, if there's any coolant. I do need to put a battery in here. It's not even screwed down, so there's some things, but that's okay. I mean, I knew what I was getting into when I bought this truck. I wanted a project truck, but now it's time to see if we can fire this thing up and then go from there. First thing, I got to move my truck out of the way. There's just this truck is so big. I'm used to having a Mustang sitting in here, which is a lot smaller and a lot more space and a lot more room to work in. So I'm going to move that out of the way, and then I think we should start going after and chipping away at the various things we need to do to get this thing ready to fire up and see if it'll turn over. So let's get started. I think the first thing we should do is get all this cleaned out of here and get that new battery strapped in, and then we'll work our way that way. I had to put these vice grips on the back of that nut there because this thing was just spinning in place. So anyways, got that out. Now we can put in this new battery tray, and I know that those things are rusted so bad. In fact, it's starting to break up the metal on the fender here, which is a problem I'm gonna have to deal with later, I guess. But we can get this put in, and we'll use that bolt that I got cut off there as kind of a locator. We'll bolt that in there, bolt the one up here on the core support, and I think that will get us right where we need to be for the battery tray. Now we can put the battery in here. And this truck, it came with a battery tie down, but I might have to figure out the way this thing goes. I don't know, I'll have to see how that goes some other time. Yeah, that's how it goes, I think. It's not really critical right now because I'm not driving the truck, but I am going to want to get this figured out. Tighten it down. But anyways, okay, so we do have the battery cable that goes here to the starter solenoid, so we're covered there. But this ground wire, man, this thing is melted and rotted, and I mean, it will work for now. Again, we're not driving anywhere, so it's not going to hurt anything. You know, while we just get this thing, we can just do this with it for now and when we start the truck, but I'm going to have to replace that. That doesn't look very good. So next I'm going to move over, you know, I've never checked the oil. So you guys are seeing it for the first time that I'm seeing it. That, well, it's just above the full line, but the big thing is I didn't want to have any water in here, and this oil is actually pretty yellow, which is good. That means it's been freshened up at some point. That's a good sign, but let's just test it real quick, see what we got in here. Okay, so yeah, it's a little full. See, it's just above the full thing is right there, and we're right about here, so it's going to be fine for what we're doing, but that's good. We got oil, and it's nice and yellow, which means it's new, so that's good. We can check that off the list. Let's take a peek at the coolant stuff, that side of this equation. You see how it's all green down there, and there's a blue corrosion line and stuff? I don't know anything about the history of this radiator. The previous owner said that there was a leak on this lower hose, but I suspect we're going to have to replace that stuff. But for the purpose of starting this engine, we don't need to worry about the coolant just to get the engine started. We don't want to run it for very long, but let's take a peek inside here. Oh yeah. That is dry, dry, dry. There is nothing in there. Okay, well, there might be some coolant at the bottom, but there's definitely not up towards the top here. But again, not critical for the purpose of just turning the engine over. We just don't want to run it for very long. So let's move over to this guy here. Now, this doesn't have one of those wing nuts or anything on here, so this whole operation can just come off. We don't need it in place for starting up this engine, sorry. Yeah, there is lots of pine needles. Those came for free. I could get all that stuff vacuumed out of there. I don't know so we've got a choke cable that runs into the cab and comes over here to operate the choke. The throttle spring looks a little, oh, okay, so that's the guy who probably went on there, not this guy. Yeah, that's really, oh, I can see that okay. Yeah, this whole operation, it's like tweaked and bent, and so the whole thing with the throttle, see how this thing should be pivoting, not twisting when you actuate the throttle here on the carb. So that whole operation there is going to be a little stiff it's going to feel like the pedal is going to feel like it's sticking or not working right, but yeah, well, at least everything's connected and hooked up, but that's not what we want. I think the first thing I'm going to do, it's not going to make a difference for starting, but I'm going to get the vacuum in here, just get all the gunk and stuff out of here and just get that out of the way so we can start seeing things if we need to see anything. Cool, so now we got a lot of those pine needles, which isn't gonna make a difference on this thing starting, but it's just nice just to have that stuff out of there and get it cleaned up a little bit. So the wires, okay, I'm assuming everything is plugged into the right spark plug hole on the cap here. Coil's plugged in. Everything seems to be here in place. I have no idea on the status of the carb, but we're gonna just make some assumptions for now, just to get this thing running, and then we can go from there. So, cool. So we have oil, we've got electricity now. We don't have any coolant, but we can deal with that. The throttle, I'll have to manually mess with it here, but I think we can turn it over. All right, guys, so I guess this is where we wish me luck, right? We got the battery plugged in. Everything seems to be connected in here. I think we can go in the cab and turn the key and cross our fingers that nothing catches on fire. Okay, I can see through the windshield and this thing is smoking, it's hot. The negative terminal is very hot, but it's working. I mean, obviously it turned over. Maybe we can squirt some carb cleaner inside there just to get that fired up and get her to go. We'll use some starting fluid here. See if that does anything. Not yet, and there may be something with the fuel. This thing's getting hot. There may be something with the fuel not getting in here. You might need to mess with this a little bit. Get that accelerator pump to work. That's a good sign, guys. Yeah. See a little bit more. Woohoo! Okay, that's good. We're getting closer, right? That's kind of what we're looking for. It'd be much more help if I had somebody here to help me actuate this stuff and see where we are. I don't know if it's so cold in here that this choke probably needs to be closed. But I don't really know the status of all that. And that may be part of my problem. I don't know. So let's try it just a little bit more. All right, guys, so this whole thing is just crusty. You know, I wonder if I flooded it. We did get that puff, and that could have been just, I've got a timing problem. That could be just because I got so much stuff pumped in there. I mean, I could have flooded this thing. I don't like how this thing is getting so hot. I don't like that at all. This isn't hot. This is getting warm, but this is the starter cable. That makes sense. But, let me see what else I can do. All right, guys, fast forward a little bit. I went to the parts store and got a new ground cable. It just goes down to the block down there. Man, these things are expensive. But anyways, so now that we got that set up and I went ahead and bolted the battery down, so we're good there. Let's go ahead and fire this thing up. By letting the truck sit while I went to get that cable, if I did flood it, that will kind of worked itself out by now. So let's try firing it up again and see what happens. That's a good sign. I smacked my head on the cabinet over there, trying to run to turn it off. So as this thing's idling up, I need to make sure that the idle's set right, but I just want to make sure that it runs, and really I don't want to run it too long before we don't have any coolant in here. So now that couple of seconds there isn't going to hurt anything, but the big thing is it turns over. Yay, that's a good sign. I'm gonna fire it up one more time. The nice thing is this cable is not smoking now. It's not even hot, so that's good. I think just that other battery cable, there was just so much corrosion and stuff there. It was actually causing a resistance and heating up this wire, and that's why it was getting so hot. But yeah, everything else is good. Let's fire it up again and see if we can duplicate it. Alrighty, what do we got going on over here? Stuff is burning. Oh, I think it's just like the pine needles and stuff that gets on the exhaust manifold and all the junk and gunk that's sitting up here. Yeah. Stuff starts to get warmed up, but this is where we're going to start running the problem where without having the radiator set up here, I don't really want to run this for very long, if we can help it. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's little pine needles and stuff that's still burning. Woohoo! All right, that's a win. I found out why I was idling so high. The throttle's getting stuck. Yeah, I had to pull that throttle lever on here back towards the front of the truck because it was stuck open. That's why I was idling so high. So this whole throttle mechanism, I gotta fix that. Woohoo! So guys, mission accomplished. We were able to get this engine started. It probably wasn't a big deal because the previous owner had it running before I bought it, but I don't know when it was, and I wanted to make sure that we can at least get it running, and from there we can start tackling all the little stuff, like I said, like that throttle, that whole mechanism there. I need to figure that out. But the carb is doing its thing. That's good. Maybe need to be cleaned, but and then the engine's running. I still got to figure out the coolant stuff. I'm probably gonna have to maybe get a new radiator because that thing looks like it's all wet along the bottom and corroded and stuff, and I don't know if that's water sitting there or if it's got a leak in it. But what sucks is that when you put the coolant in there and then you find a leak, then you got to mess it. And so I'm going to start upgrading and replacing parts. So maybe I'll just start there and get a new radiator. But I got a lot to do. And then I don't think this battery cable was the problem why it wasn't starting. It wasn't helping for sure because it was getting hot and smoking, but I bet you I flooded it because I was messing with the throttle a bunch, and I bet I put a bunch of fuel in there and it just wasn't happy. And so, but other than that, it almost just fired right up, which just is what we want, right? From there, and knock on wood, right? It's not leaking anything right now. They say if it's leaking oil, it's got oil, right? But we did see that it had oil in there, so that's good. But one of the things that was a concern of mine is maybe that rear main seal. And doing a rear main seal on these FE blocks, particularly with that cross member that's underneath here, either you got to really lift the engine up high to get the oil pan off, to get it away from the oil pump, pickup down there and stuff, or take the engine out. I really don't want to do that right now, but yeah, we'll just start chipping away at the list. In fact, the next thing I'm probably going to do is the floorboards. For those that are starting to follow this build, the floor pans are just rusted through, and so I got a new set of those. So probably the next videos I'll take those out, cut those out, and weld them to new ones, so at least I have a place to put my feet when I'm driving. And then I got a new seat, which you guys probably saw. It's sitting in the bed of the truck right now, but part of the trade of this truck was a better bench seat, so I'm getting anxious to put that in. But anyways, all right guys, that's it. That takes care of that. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you subscribe, I appreciate it because it helps my channel out, and we'll see you in the next one.